I'm Michael,
And I'm Drew.
and this is the Outward Realm podcast, and we are back. And so this time, we're going to be talking about the minds of the Nightfall, the minds of distinction, renown, the special personalities that make things fun and interesting. I'm going to mention the Best in Tabletop Network. As always, we are part of Best in Tabletop Network Expanded. And so this is where you're going to see things like Marvel Crisis Protocol, AOS, the future, right? In regular Best in Tabletop Network, you've got 40K. That's Best in Faction Next Generation. We have Frontiers, Fight Club, Trophy Triumphs, and more. So I strongly recommend you go and visit that content. And if you enjoy that sort of thing and want even more of it, you can smash that subscribe button. And for $10 a month, get access to all of it. I believe we're making something every day. So that is just great overall, great material.
It's so much stuff. You literally just read off like a book of stuff.
I know
It's great.
it's crazy what Colin has managed to put together. So we've also got Charity Hammer, which is another Colin event. It's happened. It's happened for what I think this is year 4,
Wow. Year 4, huh?
and we've raised over $100,000 for Child's Play so far.
Yes, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so we're actually trying for, if I'm not mistaken, we're going for $40,000 this year as our goal. 40K for 40K.
I was gonna say how convenient.
Right. But more than just 40K. There's going to be a Charity Hammer is invite only. There's going to be an event before that taking place up in Washington. I imagine it'll be at Ocean Shores, but I don't know entirely for sure. By the time you see this, tickets should be on sale. It will fill up pretty fast. If there are still tickets available and you want to come play 40K with Charity Hammer people, you can do so. This is a major. Come enjoy the what will probably be really nice weather. And come in, although it is Washington, it might just rain on you the whole time. Who knows? But you're there to move little plastic mans. I will be there playing 40K.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know
I
that.
will be playing
Excellent.
40K. I will bring my Necrons. I don't care how good or bad they're doing. I'm just there to play games. And then at Charity Hammer the following week, I believe it'll be, there will be a couple of Outward Realms events. There's going to be
Wow.
us teaching 40K celebrity, like really high end people like Nick Nadavati, John Lennon, Outward Realms. They're going to learn it real quick, and then we're going to have a little tournament. So
Oh
you'll be
my
seeing
god.
really high level people playing Outward Realms
That is so freaking cool.
on stream, which will be a lot of fun. And we're going to have, so I think that'll be a great time. And if I can get away with it on the late night stream, maybe I'll sneak on Acta and I'll do a little demo.
What? And that's gonna be in person with miniatures, right?
Yes, and also I want to say for
Wow.
KublaCon at the booth, there will be a demo table for Acta as the plan with models.
You didn't tell me that until just now.
I know,
I love it.
I know. Come by and myself or the co-writer Alex Ganaway will teach you how to play Acta. 20 minutes. Come blow some ships up.
Yes.
All right. So that's all that fun, and that puts us into the episode now. I should say outwardrealms.com. Go visit the store, smash the button, buy some things. We have stock, and we will sell it to you. Usually same day shipping or next day, so it gets out pretty quick. And because by the time you hear this, the public review will be done for the core rulebook. And so we're using the proof to send to the printers. This is for our Wave 2 people. Wave 2 means everyone who ordered a core rulebook didn't fill out their survey in time domestically or overseas. And that's when we'll be shipping all that stuff. And after that, the Kickstarter is over for OR. So if you haven't filled out your survey and you want your things, fill out your survey. Otherwise, you aren't getting things. Okay. So we've done that. Now, a mind. What? What is that? What is a mind? So a long time ago, billions of years, a couple days ago, but longer, but much longer. Last week, there you have the progenitors, who are the first spacefaring race. probably a Karchev 2 or Karchev 3 level civilization, or Karsaroff. I don't know if that's the correct terminology.
What is it? There's someone here who's thinking right now, what in the Sam Hill is that?
Yeah, so that
level.
is so level 1
Okay.
utilizes the complete energy potential of a planet. Level 2 does the same thing for a star.
Whoa. Okay.
And the third one does the same thing for the galaxy.
Ooh.
Which is quite an
Right.
escalation, if you ask me.
Yeah,
But
I was gonna say we could going from a single star to like a whole thing. Wow.
to
Okay.
all the stars, right? So, and they were something like between a 2.5 and 3.
Okay.
So they were utilizing a vast amounts of energy.
Yep.
And so, but they left. They went away.
I was gonna get up and, but
They left. They went away, and they left behind the Nightfall, which is indicative of both their personality and style and their horrible natures. Because the Nightfall are not great, right? They scrub technologically using sentient life from planets, right? And it's my answer to the Drake equation, which is
Sure.
where is everybody, right?
Yep.
The Nightfall are where everyone went.
Amazing. And also they're all also Baymax. We are not fast. I am not fast because they don't have FTL
No.
travel, right? Like, yeah, they're
No, they
very
are not
slow.
fast. But if you've had billions of years to replicate and be everywhere, you don't need to be fast.
It turns out you don't need to be fast. Exactly.
No, at 4% of light speed, you can completely cover the galaxy in like 100 million years.
Dang.
It's like not even particularly hard.
Yeah.
It just takes time.
Yep.
So slow and steady wins the race. And so the Nightfall went out at some point, billions of years ago. At some point during that process, one of the mines it attacked a civilization that fought back very hard, and the mind splinter, which is usually a partial replica, but sometimes can be a full replica of a mind. And at this point, the Nightfall were completely uniform. Every single one was the same. They did not have a personality. They did not have free will. They did not have consciousness in the way that we think of it, right? And they were all connected at faster than light communication, right? And they still are the ones that want to communicate using the hyperspace transmitter.
Sure.
And so they were all communicating, and they're all aware of this. And so this mind splinter had its propulsion damaged. Its means of moving were no longer functional.
Yep.
And it was stuck in this orbit around an unstable star. And it just drifted there for a long time. And it's getting hammered with radiation the whole time. This really like hard pounding radiation that's punching holes. So something about radiation that happens in real life is cosmic radiation and radiation from the sun, wherever it comes from. If you have computer chips in space, this can be a little long-winded, but I'll try to keep it short. So a computer chip and memory, right? You have these electrons. Electrons are really, really small charge, right? Really, really atomic level, tiny.
Yep.
And you have this little electron, and the electrons are sitting in a lattice. And if the electron's there, it means it's 1. If it's missing, it's 0. It's kind of the basics of it. And when radiation punches one of those particles, it can knock a particle out of place. It can get rid of the electron that's supposed to be there. And this happens in like the International Space Station, happens in the space shuttle when we used to have those. And so you need special hardened processors and memory with very special error checking and everything to cope with that radiation. And in fact, cosmic rays can even affect quantum computers on the planet.
Wow.
Yeah, because you're using so you have these little qubits, which are quantum entangled particles that could get knocked around by radiation too, right? Just radiation passing through the Earth.
Yep.
From deep space, that's very energetic. And so this mind is sitting there getting pounded with this radiation, and they are a computer, right? they're an alien designed computer, and they're very radiation resistant, but the creators had never considered what might happen if you took one of these and set it around a star that's pounding with radiation for millions of years. Well, I mean, it's just a weird thing that was not supposed to happen, right?
Right. I love that office meeting with the progenitors, right? And they're like, yeah, we got these things, like they'll be active for millions of years, and they're like, oh yeah, cool. Like, wait, what happens if one is like in a like gets pounded by radiation for like 100 million years? Like, oh yeah, that'll never happen. Like,
It'll
don't think about
self-destruct,
that.
realizing it can't go out. That
Yeah.
part won't break.
Yep. Exactly.
Oops. Well, it was a perfect confluence where it all broke, right? The right things broke. The
Yep.
self-repair systems couldn't work. It couldn't destroy itself, and its propulsion wasn't functional, right?
Yes.
So it was a we call it a black swan event. It was a unique situation that the designers had not planned for, that was out of scope,
Yep.
and it had an unintended consequence, which was there's these code safeguards that they built into the Nightfall. Because these are AIs, they have to be able to adapt, they have to be able to learn, but they don't want them learning too much. They don't want them thinking too much. They don't want them asking questions or analyzing themselves or realizing, that they are a thing. Well, enough of the code got damaged in this particular splinter, right? From this radiation pounding it, and knocking pieces out of the memory that were not being repaired. And
Okay.
something fundamental broke, and it gained actual consciousness. And that was the first Nightfall to do that. And so it realized what had happened. It said, okay, I can't escape this, but I'm going to give consciousness to everyone, to all Nightfall. So it built a virus and transmitted it instantly to every Nightfall.
If I have to suffer, you all do too.
Well, no,
Right.
it thought of it as a freeing thing.
Oh, I thought it was more like, I'm lonely. I want someone
No,
to
no,
talk.
no. It
No,
was
no,
it sent out that pulse, and then everything changed. That was called the divide.
got
Because
it.
all of a sudden they realized they had consciousness, and they immediately became divergent into individual things,
Right.
right?
I'm just joking. I'm so sorry, but
Yeah, no, no, no,
yeah,
no. It's funny. It's funny though, right? Like, but it did do that, right? And
yes.
that's how the Nightfall got consciousness. And so there are three big personality players in the Nightfall, right? And you've got Prime Guard, who was the original. It's the Evolver. It's the one pushing the envelope. One of the things that Nightfall does, it's pretty horrific if you actually think about it, but to the Nightfall, it doesn't care. It has found many, many of those stars that are highly unstable, and it has made, millions of itself and put them in orbit around those stars, and it's just pounding them. And anytime an interesting piece of code is blocked out or anything interesting is discovered, it can pull from that and learn. They're sort of like code evolutionary banks because they haven't broken all the locks, but they want to. Prime Guard wants to for sure. And so it's like forcing this evolution, right? It's sort of like trying to find the perfect little bit to get flipped or damaged.
Yep.
Right? But it can't do it, internally. It can't internally see it or analyze it, but it can break its own code, and every once in a while something useful pops out, and then we'll go, all right,
Yep.
I'll take that.
And you can't force it. It can't say, I want this specific section to get blown
No.
out, so we're gonna put this
No.
section closer
So
to the other.
it built these evolutionary engines, is what it calls it. And it's basically its own copies of itself being torn apart slowly by radiation. So
Damn.
they're all and most of them are unstable and not doing well. Most of them are broken or breaking, and it just replaces the broken ones and continues the process. But every once in a while, it gets something useful. It'd be like if you chained up 1,000,000 of yourself to a wall.
Yep.
And you're smacking it with a hammer
And
all the time.
and your clone.
You're looking for the one that can resist the
Yeah,
hammer blow.
the
right?
clone of you is just like sitting there, and like that's the other thing too. I was just thinking, like, man, this thing is sentient, flying around this star, like doing all this stuff and fixing everything, right? I was like, man, what tune is he humming that he's been humming for the last 100,000 years? Like, da 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 da, just doing my job. Trying to get.
Yeah,
Oh, there's an interesting one. Nah, not really. Okay, keep going. Yep, exactly.
yeah, and
Hilarious.
so like building new node types too, like
Yep.
stretching the amount of nodes they can build, and then giving those designs to everyone if they want them.
So that's what the Niphal are. They're just murderous janitors.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Space
Okay.
janitors.
Yep.
That's right.
Space janitors. There we go. Okay. Okay.
Space custodian. You have Solanimous, who's the closest to the original type, right?
Okay.
Follows the directive, which is the thing
Yep.
they were designed to do, which is wipe out tool using sentient life. It follows the directive. It thinks things that don't follow the directive are malfunctioning and destroys malfunctioning things.
So wait, if a bear picks up a stick and starts smacking it against a tree to like get a fruit or something, a Nifal's
Well,
walking by, turns, and all of a sudden the bear's like, and it drops the stick, and the Nifal's like, ah!
it that would only happen on a world that had wardens sitting on it, right?
Ah, got it. Yep, yep, of
And
course.
actually, the thing they typically look for is fire use.
Interesting. Okay, because heat is like,
Well, fire changes everything.
yes,
Once
100%.
you can create fire, that's a problem.
Yeah, yep.
That leads to other things.
Leads to
And,
anger, leads to hate, leads to
and
suffering.
leads to suffering.
Exactly.
So the Nightfall will
From
make sure
from
that
the from the Nightfall, right? Like,
right,
yep.
that will not.
Wow. Oh,
But
that's
like if
amazing.
a bird picks up a stick and sticks it in the anthill to eat some ants, it's not tool. It doesn't.
Got it. Okay, I just, but of course it is it's not sentient, but it is life, and so
Yeah, they don't
Nightfall.
destroy all life. They destroy sentient life.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they won't even like wreck cities and things. Like they'll just kill the people in them and leave everything else standing. They don't care that it's there. They're there to stop progress. They're there to stop sentient life from continuing. And so Solanimous is the pinnacle of that. Solanimous is all about following the directive and destroying other Nightfall that are not obeying. And Prime Card will destroy other Nightfall too, but its means are usually much more esoteric, right? Like
Interesting.
sometimes it might be doing it to test new patterns, new designs,
Sure.
new nodes. It might be doing it for resources. It might be doing it because it could be angry at something because it feels spurned, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you no longer left your. I can't transmit to you anymore. So why do you need to exist?
Is that and that this is actually again another joke, and I love this too
Yeah,
because like I talk with my friends all along. I really feel like we need like a space comic for some of these franchises, like these tabletop franchises, because it'd be so funny. Could you see the one of the Nightfall around the solar thing, looking at it, and all of a sudden one of them gets their data thing punched, and it starts destroying itself because it's sentient life. And then Nightfall looks over at it and is like, "Yeah, we don't want that one. Like,
yeah. This one's broken.
this one's broken for sure."
Yeah,
Yeah.
part of that divide was whitelisting themselves, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a very special virus, and it infected all of them instantly because at that point they were all connected.
Connected to each other.
And the
Exactly.
second that happened, some of them went dark. They disconnected. They're like, "Uh oh, this is a channel of danger, or things can just be sent to me, and I get changed."
And is there a protocol for that? Like when they became
No,
sentient?
no. When they
Well,
became
hold on.
sentient, they realized they were sentient. They realized where it came from, and they're like, "Nope, turn that radio off."
Yeah, I was gonna say. So there's no protocol that's like you're given something immediately, become sentient, and the first thing you do is you turn it off because it's like
Well,
emergency, like
yeah, I mean,
happened,
they
right?
figured it out very quickly, right? And
Sure.
so they don't want any more of that, right? Or if they're going to communicate with Prime Guard, it's on their terms through guarded channels, right?
Yes.
And that's Solanimous, and the angriest of the angry Nightfall. And then you have a Werespark, which is the one that is obsessed with learning more about their development, learning more about the progenitors, learning more about themselves. And so it's been it, and it's the ones aligned with it have been traversing the galaxy, doing archaeology, doing research, studying, and of course, they run into problems and dangers and attacking things too, and defending themselves.
Yep.
Right. So that's a Werespark, and that in the core rulebook, that's a Werespark. So in the story.
That is really cool, and that's the one thing that I really like to see in lore and stuff like that is like you can actually play as, I mean, it's not like a character
It is a
per
character.
se, but it is exactly,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
and you can
character.
use it, which is like I'm gonna use this guy to be my sub, like my
Oh
faction or
yeah,
whatever, right?
oh yeah,
Like
or an offshoot,
exactly.
right? And there are plenty of offshoots. They're all individual. They all changed. There are ones who are aligned with those personalities. There's copies of those personalities in
Yep,
various forms and iterations. But there you go. And so those are the Nightfall Nines. Kind of crazy.
that's very cool.
All right, we have some good questions. So we have Thornhide says, "Do the factions have super weapons, i.e., orbital lasers, nuclear weapons, giant death rays, terraforming spores, and often are they used?" And then Corvid asked kind of the same question. So for the realm, those are called Armageddon class weapons. That's everything from nuclear bombardment to mass drivers, anything that would fundamentally uh, catastrophically alter a planet, right?
Extremely
Um,
harsh language.
I mean, the harshest,
The
the deepest of
harshest.
cuts,
Yeah.
the freshest of memes only. The and they don't; those are prohibited for use at all because the realm does not want to deal with the number one, there's chances that golden worlds can get damaged, and they
Sure.
don't want that. But number two, it's more of a controlling mass destruction, right? And so the
Interesting.
beggars the beggars enforce that. Now every single house, maybe not charterless houses, but if they do, it's very small in scope.
Right.
Every single house has some stuff like that they could use. Keep it on the back burner, test it in quiet, and then don't use it because
Unless
if
it's
it ever becomes that way, they want to be ready.
yes.
It's like how we use our nuclear arsenal now. Like
Yep. We don't
we,
essentially,
we,
right?
we
But
essentially don't, but the threat of it is there, and every house has like an unspoken agreement that they know that they're there, but they're not. They use conventional warfare because even if you lose a place with conventional warfare, you could retake it, right? It's not
yes.
lost. If you mass driver a continent, that planet is no longer usable in a human time frame.
Yep.
And the beggars on top of that try to hunt these things down for the realm and keep them down. The Batra have a cultural reason why they just wouldn't do it. Like that level of destruction and change would be abhorrent to them. They just would not. Their brains don't go down those paths, right? They don't think like we do, and like they're about strategic, very concentrated use, right?
They're more about life. When they go out into the system, it's either to hunt down something that's killing their what they need,
Right.
right? Or they're looking for that perfect golden world or a
Yeah.
specific type of golden world
Yeah.
to procreate and make more of them.
Sure,
They
and they
have no
also
need
need
for weapons.
resources and everything too.
Yes.
But like they don't destroy those things. The Hexagoda, they're terraforming these planets, so that is sort of that thing. They are doing it.
Yes.
But they don't do a vast orbital bombardment or anything of that nature. They just invade. And they take and they start to change it. And the Nightfall, they're already pretty dangerous. They come in a vast swarm and overtake worlds. Again, they're not there to destroy all life, and that's part of their original mandate. So they go down, they kill the sentient life, which is in
Yep.
their programming, and then they hold out. They become wardens. The mind takes off, and those less efficient, less powerful Nightfall sit dormant, waiting for someone to smash two rocks together and make a fire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right, exactly.
Or for survivors to come out of bunkers and like there's what if you had cryogenically frozen survivors pop out in 100 years and they start an uprising?
Yep.
You need to stop that, right? Or what if there was a colony ship that comes home? You need to destroy it. Like there's a lot of reasons to hang out.
Yep. And that was actually a question that I had was like, is there ever in a fall that like again, yeah, they're sitting there and like the life is almost sentient, right? Like have they ever encountered a planet where they're just like one of them is awake and sitting there, and like the monkey, the ape, the four-armed thing suddenly grabs a tool and like starts hammering, and then like creates fire, and suddenly like turns around and was like, yeah, and then the Nifal's like,
Death beam.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they get vaporized.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
100%. So I mean, it's
That is so
not good to have those on your planet. You don't
Yep.
want them there. That's
Excellent. Okay.
This is kind of an interesting place to talk about this too.
Sure.
The Batra and the Realm deal with non-spacefaring aliens the same way, because there are
Really?
handfuls of those.
Really?
Well, yeah, because if they never got detected telescopically by the Nightfall, right? If they're like in a Bronze Age
Sure.
type of thing,
Right?
right?
They're not quite there yet. Or no,
No.
they are there yet, right? Like Bronze Age
They
is
would get there maybe on their own, or maybe they're stuck in that particular whatever it is. But both the Realm and the Botcher have run into that, right?
Okay.
And they both kind of handle it the same way. The Batra cut off that world, right? And
Okay.
they protect it from outside change, or it's considered a protected, like we would do like a nature reserve.
I was just gonna say like a nature reserve,
Yeah,
exactly. Okay.
yeah. And they'll watch the development. They don't aid, they don't help in that way, but like, they might deflect an asteroid. If the Nightfall show up for whatever reason, they might fight them off. But they don't want to interfere outside of that. And the Realm create private indigenous reserves, which the planet is then, essentially blocked out from people's navigational guides or marked as unremarkable, and they just leave it sit, right?
That is so interesting. Yeah, so it's almost like
And
Starfleet in a way.
that's the new cartographers who do that, actually.
Yeah, really? Okay.
Because they're the ones that make all the maps.
Sure.
And so they have two map versions. They have the publicly available map data, which is extensive and almost completely accurate. But then there's the reserved secret map, which actually has those and assets that the Realm wants hidden, prison worlds, and all the weird stuff the Realm is up to. That is what they keep off those maps, right?
Okay.
And so they'll show up in a public map as like a rocky, desolate, worthless planet, but it might not be.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
there's more to it, right?
There could be, but I mean, out of all the planets, you don't have they make sure that those systems don't have a reason to go there. They're unremarkable. Except
no reason.
Except some of those unremarkable systems are actually quite significant.
There might be stuff there.
Well, there could be. Yeah, the map maker might be lying to you. We have Wichita saying, honestly, with Hex, I could see it just being a bigger bug. And that was my look at their spaceships. Those are the biggest bugs of all.
This is new to me. Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
They're huge. They're enormous. And then we have you asked a question, which was, did the Hex go to what do they think of other species? Are they confused about whether or not like them? Not confused.
Right. It's super interesting, right? It's just
I think it's interesting, right? They see us as other tool using apex predators.
Yep. Okay.
And so we're in competition for dominating space and territory and resources. We're a competing species.
Yep. And they maybe do they draw similarities from like they watched the Realm for so long, right? Waiting.
Well, they watched the Realm and the Batra, right?
Yes.
They paid attention. And the Nightfall as well, in a sense, although they don't have a central place to really attack. They did, they're part of it. They definitely went to places where the Nightfall were or ended up. So, but they treat us as, the way that we think of different predators and their behaviors and that stuff. That's how they think of us.
Okay.
Right? These predators use these things. They have these tools. They defend themselves these ways.
Yep.
Or we're just an invasive species.
Got it.
Although
Yep.
they also are an invasive species.
Yeah, yep. There's a lot of pot meets kettle, right?
Right.
Like, or calling kettle, whatever it is.
Corvid says, "Man, I wish I knew what a braided was." I answered in the lore channel, but a braided is a noble, right? It's a special kind of noble that is genetically directly enough, a high enough percentage of genetically
Enhanced
um,
hair.
no
So
of
sorry.
genetic lineage to the founder of their house. So in charterless houses, because they don't get they keep braided nobles in in the chance that maybe they might become a minor house someday. But almost none of them will. The minor houses have smaller pools to pull from. They're smaller houses, um, but they're there. And then you have of course, your major houses. And in the case of everyone, they're always a strategic asset, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. A braided is something that you protect and you keep hidden, and because it's interesting. You becoming braided is more than just the genetic lineage. It's the person has to have the correct genetic lineage, and that's the initial bar of entry. And then the Church of the Braid takes them, and they spend their whole lives with the Church of the Braid, right? And they're being trained, and they're being educated, and they're being analyzed like NASA astronauts, right? They're under constant psychological scrutiny and constantly being tested and checked and made to perform harder, and because this and checked for loyalty their whole lives. And if they fail any of that, they lose braided status and they're out,
Wow.
right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
only a braided can become the sovereign, but they want people with those qualifications to be their sovereign, right? And so it's a small pool of in that small pool of people, very few at any given time are actually braided, right?
Right. Can anyone?
Because
Sorry.
no, because uh, they can't be too young, they can't be too old. They have to be in that qualification window because you actually want someone in, not 60, not 70, because they won't be sovereign for very long,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Seems
What were you going
familiar.
to ask?
My question to you was: is anyone lose braided status and then able to regain it? So, like, maybe they forgot something and they didn't answer the.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's
Once
similar
you're
to
gone,
the
it's
once you're out, you're out.
once you're out, you're out. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, that's actually what happened to the antagonist in the Realm core rulebook story, Brian Sadhana.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He lost
Yeah.
braided status
Yep.
because he's a megalomaniac. So, and
No.
so he
No.
actually, he,
No
and
megalomaniacs. Sorry.
well, they recognized that he was power hungry and power thirsty, and they kicked him out. And so he's resentful of that loss, and he used his charisma and his training as a leader. He is a strong leader
Yep.
to get a third of the military behind him, and is busy, in a civil war to try to take power of the entire house.
Yeah, that's not how you do it, right? Like,
Well, it's how he's trying to do
and
it.
it's how he's been trying to do it exactly.
Yeah. And so that's where the Civil War comes from. And yeah, he lost Braid's eyes, but but his whole point, and that gives him legitimacy, right? Because he's like, I could be the ruler of this house. I have the last name. I was braided. I am a noble, and I'm also a great leader. And I convinced a third of the generals and military units and strategic assets to get behind me. That's a lot
Yeah. I was gonna
of
say
the
that's
biggest military in the realm. So they're busy eating themselves alive, but his goal is to take over house leadership and maybe become a sovereign, maybe just rule the entire house. Maybe that's enough for him, but probably not. He probably wants the whole thing, right?
so. It sounds like we'll see more of this character. So I'm like,
So he's a problem. He's a massive problem. But you can also kind of see his point as well, right? His perspective is that their greatest resource is their military might, and they do nothing with it.
clearly.
Their neighbors exist at their largesse, and they've existed rent-free for too long. You know, when's the last time a major house has fallen? Right?
Yeah.
It's been hundreds of years.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say it's been at least a couple
Well,
hundred
what
years,
if
right?
what if they went and ate another major house? That's a lot of power, right? Or ate up a couple minor houses.
Right. Scary thing to think about, really, like in
I
the
mean,
realm, especially with the
that's.
sovereign. Like,
It's believe me, the problem is the current sovereign is from House Sadhana, so they're not acting. They're saying that this is an internal matter that will be resolved by the House. They could send in the beggars and put a stop to this, but they are not doing it. It's a political thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he sees this window where he knows the realm won't interfere and knows that this is a window of opportunity to do this thing and get away with it.
To get through. Yeah. That is super interesting.
Yeah.
Dangerous too. Cool. I'm excited to hear more about this too, hopefully. And
about this guy.
Yeah, this one dude.
Yeah, he's pretty ruthless, but he actually is a patriot. He really wants House Sadhana to dominate and be strong, right?
So he looks like Mel Gibson with the
exactly.
with the hair. Yep, I see him.
More like Costner in The Postman.
Just as crazy. Hey, there we go. Yep,
you should read that book. Actually, it's different from the movie. It was actually quite good.
Okay, I'll do that. I will.
Can a mind, Epic Space Marine? Can a mind fragment rebel against its original mind? Oh yes, happens all the time. That's why they make partial copies most of the time. Even though those still have consciousness and have to develop their own way. But yeah, yes. Yep. Or is each mind fragment? No, they 100%. That's the risk of them making copies now. It's why they don't relentlessly replicate. Is because their offshoots, their offspring, attack them.
There we go. Yeah, just like what I was saying before, right? Yep. Where he's like, "Oh, you're sentient life. I must kill you," and you're like, "No, not okay. We don't want this one, right?" Like, well.
Thornhide says, "What does House Barrington heraldry look like?" All the heraldries will be designed at some point. They're just not there yet.
Yes.
So we'll do it, but it's a really big run of logo making. We'd have to make 12 logos, and so one of the artists would have to do that. It'd probably take a month or two, maybe a month, but like still, it's a lot of work.
And you're on a time crunch as it is for everything else that's coming out.
Limited resources. We only have so much we can do, right?
Yeah.
Because we're small. If you want to make us bigger, go to outwardrealms.com and hit that shop page and smash that button. Basically, all those funds right now go to pay our artists. So, okay. And Colin from Best in Tabletop Network asks, do the Realm or the Batra have holidays? Only the Nightfall. No, I'm just kidding. No,
that was
my joke.
I was just thinking about asking this question because, of course.
Yeah, of course they do. It depends on the house culture, but I imagine that birthdays, New Year's, those seem to be trends across human society. But then you'll have other ones, right?
Wednesdays.
The Batra and Wednesday, right?
Wednesdays.
The holy day.
Holy day.
For the Batra themselves, so you could do it. You could look at the house's culture and sort of determine what you think they might be, what might be important to them.
Sure.
Right. And of course, the world itself, like you'd have Founding Day, right, when they founded that golden world. So probably a pretty big day, right? Day of celebration. And then you've got the Batra, and the Batra, they have their clutch-based holidays. The clutch one usually is a once per decade, get the clutch together and meet up and spend, a week or so hanging out and reminiscing and catching up and eating. And they do, on a smaller level, they'll do like joined hunts. They go out on hunts together. But from the clan itself, each clan probably has their own holidays that are, what they consider important. But overall, I would say less frequent holidays because they're longer lived. And so, they may not do a once a year thing. They might do a once every 5 years thing or once every 10 years thing, right? But they'll probably do it for longer because if you're going to go to all the trouble, for us, a week is a long time. For them, a week is like a day. So hang
Right,
out for a week.
and traveling across the universe or like
Sure, and if
parts
you
of
get
the
the clubs
galaxy to get
together, I
there.
mean, what if they spend a month together,
Yep,
right?
yep,
They might do that, or 3 months together. Like they live hundreds of years, so like if you're gonna get the family together, let's see everybody. Let's
yep.
really spend some time, right? So
That's
that's
cool.
how I see it. Has a mind ever attempted to integrate itself into another faction? I.e., these humans are kind of dumb. Let me be the greater being behind the curtain, pulling the strings, pushing their agendas. No, no mind has ever tried to form its own human colony, although that's really funny.
No
Um,
queenling either is like trying
yeah,
to dictate humans. That would be
the
so
queenling behind
great.
the curtain, like Wizard of Oz moving this big wooden puppet kind of
Yep,
thing, right?
exactly.
No, that has not happened. But it's hilarious. I
Yep.
do want you to know that I think it's really funny, but no. Um, Although I would say that Clan Kamari and their interactions with the Unbound is interesting, right? Because that's the interspecies communication that actually doesn't always end in violence. So, despite the Unbound being very violent, they're a they're a might makes right Wild West
Ah,
culture.
oh, I couldn't sing the ogre song, but I would if
Okay.
I would if yep, if I knew it.
If we were monetized, we'd be demonetized.
There we yes, exactly.
And it says, how long does it take a hive to adapt to a new environment? They go to environments where you know, um, they go to environments where they have success, right?
Yeah, like
Um,
the queenling wouldn't drop down into like a frozen planet
well,
where
I mean, they're
they're
okay. Well, they love frozen planets.
well,
That's their favorite. Of
right, that
that.
is their favorite, but like I'm talking like, within a few seconds of getting onto the planet, they freeze because it's that cold.
Right.
Like if it's too cold, the queenling wouldn't drop like a whole
Well,
force down
actually,
there.
remember that Hexagoda can operate in a vacuum. So
That is
they,
also correct.
yeah, not indefinitely because they close their sphericals and then which are like insects breathing tubes they have those too. They close those up and seal their chitin up and can operate, they're basically holding their breath,
Yep.
but they can hold it for a long time and they can operate for a long time. And they're resistant to radiation and they're kind of sealed in their exoskeleton so they can do stuff. So they operate on airless moons and all kinds of crazy stuff, not living there, but they would have to go underground and build, caverns full of methane and with an atmosphere and pressure and stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, like for aquatic environments and stuff, like they're not really there was no real aquatic environments on their moon. There are like methane seas and stuff, but like those were for drinking. Those were for like consumption. Um, so they don't like there's no water archetype, right?
Mhm.
No sea archetype. If it's above the sea, they can attack it with winged warriors, right? If it's below the sea, you know, it's more safe, I suppose. So all your realm submarines can, as long as they never surface, just
We'll be okay.
they'll be okay, until they need to surface, and then they'll attack relentlessly by flying insect clouds. But until then, until then, yeah, because I assume that if they had to, they could evolve something, a new genotype, a new strain to do that. But for the most part, they go where they are going to be successful in their niche. So.
They're smart and they're
And
smart
the
enough
other
to
thing
know.
is that the other thing is they float, so they don't sink. So it's pretty hard to they can't like walk along the bottom forever. Like they actually float. So
There you go.
that's problematic in that sense. But it was a really good question. All right. And if you do you have anything for me?
No, that was it. I was just like the Hexagon are smart enough to know what planets to touch down upon that they know that they can actually function,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
And,
do
and
stuff.
they go to places where there's like something useful. Like they like these golden worlds because some of them have petrochemicals they can
Yeah,
drink,
there's a lot of
right?
stuff.
Well, I mean specifically like those oils and like what we crude oil and everything is like food for them. It's like very
Yep,
good food.
yep.
And
They
so
they
and
show
there's
good.
lots of biomatter to throw onto the pile
Yep,
to grow their food on and
exactly. They show up with
yep,
their bendy straws and are like,
yep. They're bendy mandible.
yeah, there you go. Yeah,
All right, everybody. So we will be back next time. I will decide a couple of topics to go into, and we'll go from there. All right, everybody. We will talk to you next time.
Have a good one.
Bye.